My boss told me to euthanize a healthy cat because the owner couldn't pay. I refused, and he fired me and reported me to the licensing board. He didn't know whose cat it was. I've been a vet tech at Harrow Animal Clinic for 8 years. I was the one who stayed late with the scared ones, who sat on the floor of the kennel room at midnight with a dog who wouldn't settle. It's not a job you do for the money. There isn't any. You do it because you can't not do it. Then Dr. Prewitt bought the practice. He came from somewhere corporate, and he talked about animals like inventory, units, throughput, unprofitable cases. He put a whiteboard in the break room tracking revenue per appointment. He started turning away the charity cases the old owner had quietly absorbed for 20 years. And he was very, very good at making you feel small for caring. There was a cat at the clinic too, not a patient, a resident, a big battered orange Tom who'd wandered in years before with a torn ear and simply stayed. He lived in the front window, greeted the nervous dogs like a professional, and had a genuine gift for sitting on the chest of anyone crying in the waiting room. We called him Mango. He wasn't on any budget line, which is exactly why Dr. Prewitt hated him. Then came the morning that ended everything. A young woman came in with a carrier and a cat named Ollie, a sweet, healthy 6-year-old tabby who'd been hit by nothing worse than bad luck. He'd swallowed something he shouldn't have. It was fixable, genuinely, straightforwardly fixable, a surgery we did all the time. But she couldn't afford it. She was crying so hard she could barely say the number she had in her account. And it wasn't close. Dr. Prewitt looked at her, looked at the chart, and said the words I still hear at night. Then we euthanize. Prep him. I said no. I told him the cat was healthy, the procedure was routine, and I'd pay for it myself if it came to that. I'd take it out of my own pocket, set up a plan, work extra shifts, anything. I told him I would not put down a healthy animal over an invoice. He fired me on the spot, in front of her. And then he did the thing that was meant to finish me. He filed a complaint with the state licensing board, claiming I'd defied a veterinarian's clinical instruction and put a patient at risk. That's the kind of report that doesn't just cost you a job, it costs you the career. 8 years, and he was going to burn it to make a point. But before I walked out that door, I did 2 things. I paid for that surgery myself, right there at the desk, every cent I had. And I picked up Mango, who Prewitt had already told me he'd be dealing with the same week, and I carried him out with me. If neither of us belonged there anymore, we weren't staying. Ollie made it. Of course he did. It was a routine surgery. Here's what Dr. Prewitt didn't know. That young woman crying in his lobby, the one he'd looked straight through, was the daughter of the woman who owned the building, and as it turned out, one of the largest private donors to the veterinary school 2 towns over. Prewitt had never once bothered to learn who she was. She wasn't a revenue line, so she wasn't worth his attention. She was, however, extremely interested in what had just happened in front of her. She hired a lawyer for me before I'd even gotten home. The complaint Prewitt filed against my license collapsed almost immediately once the board saw the full picture. A healthy animal, a routine procedure, a refusal that was ethically correct, and a report filed in retaliation. Filing a false complaint to punish a whistleblower is, it turns out, a serious problem for the person filing it. The board's attention turned around and landed squarely on him. The clinic lost its lease within a few months. Dr. Prewitt lost considerably more than that. The practice reopened under new ownership, hers, and she asked me to help run it. Charity cases restored, no whiteboard. And I said yes on one condition, which she'd already guessed. Mango came back to the front window. He has a proper bed there now, in the sun, with a little brass plate that says clinic manager. Ollie comes in for his checkups, and the 2 of them sit and stare at each other through the glass like old colleagues. People ask if I regret losing 8 years over one cat. I ask them if they've been listening. Some folks call that luck. Around here, we call it karma.